The world is now filled with AI-generated code, but can we really trust it? That's exactly what we're going to discuss with Johan Pearson, our senior QA engineer. So let's hear him out. AI hasn't created a gap between doing things right and doing the right thing. But in your article, you say it has made it wider and faster to arrive at. What does that actually mean?
What I mean about that is that previously we got requirements and feature specifications in the very beginning, and we started to have conversations of, is this the right feature? Are we developing it in the right way? Now, code seems to be generated in a very more various speed than before. So we get code even before those conversations actually started. And there is tools today that can help us to look into the different syntax, that it's correctly written or it's well written, but we have no tools of today who are good to say that this is the right thing. And that is why we need to start asking questions much earlier and much louder than previous, that are we doing the right thing?
That makes sense. You say that good enough becomes a guess when intent is unclear. How do teams end up in a situation like that?
Good enough has been a way of measuring that we're actually working in an MVP style of way. And it has worked for a long time. But good enough now, we don't really know the extent of what that being. And with that, what I mean about that is that we have lost, or we are losing, our understanding of the domain that we're working in, the system mastery that CodeScene calls it. We understand our customers and our business, and we are the ones who make sure that what we deliver is what they've asked for, or that we can question them once again that you have asked for this, but we will provide you this. And we don't have the possibility to get these answers correct and in time, since the world of AI is now moving so fast.
Yeah, makes sense.
In your article, you argue that trust is a real deliverable. How do you actually build that when AI is generating more and more of the code?
You do it the same way that we've always done, and it's by showing evidence. Evidence that the system is doing what it's supposed to do, but also evidence behind the intent of the source code or the tests. Now when AI also is about to start testing the applications, we need to make sure that it's intended to write those tests that are valuable, which is something that we worked quite a lot when developing SpecOps. Because we need to be super clear about the intent of why a test exists and why it doesn't, and why it fails and why it does not. And it's harder and harder since AI has taken over to actually show those evidence, because you need to be able to present the different reasoning and confidence that the AI has done, and then use your expertise as a QA or a developer to actually take those decisions to make sure that we deliver with trust.
In your work with SpecOps, you've been instructing AI to write tests that are allowed to fail. What is the reasoning behind that?
AI works to please. If anyone has had a conversation with any AI, it says that you are always correct in whatever you tell it to do. And Meta actually launched a research program a few years ago when generating unit tests. And the whole logic behind it is that if a test failed, it was removed or discarded because it didn't increase code coverage of that code base. And that is usually what I've seen around working with LLMs and AIs now for a while. And it's very hard to let an AI keep tests that fail because of the right reasons. So we have worked quite a lot about setting different angles or perspective when we write the tests and when we execute them, and then let another AI to actually analyze those tests and start to write down its reasoning and confidence about each test case, so that we can take action and still be the human in the loop to tell it when we are happy with the actual test case that we have provided.
You call understanding intent unglamorous and distinctly human. Why is that important to name right now?
I think this all comes to what everyone is talking about with agentic and whatever way or strategy you're using AI is to keep human in the loop or on the loop, as someone says. And this has always been the case, and it is quite unglamorous in a world where there is a real pull to work with AI, and that pull is quite exciting. It's fast, it's sometimes autonomous, it's automated, and then it's quite boring for someone to have discussions about that we need to slow down. We need to do stuff manually. We need humans to understand what we're trying to do. And I think that is something that we really struggle with today, because everyone wants to use AI in every aspect that's needed. And we still need to put our foot down here and say that we are experts within this line, and to make sure that we actually keep intent from the beginning all the way through out to production.
Coming to the final phase, you say that QA has to live everywhere now, not just before deployment. How do teams make that shift without losing focus?
I think focus can actually be the wrong phrase here, because we need to make sure that it's a cultural shift more than a systematic one. We need to make sure that quality assurance or quality is a mindset, not a handshake. Previously, it's been a phase that someone owned, like a QA person or a QA team. We need to make sure that QA is the first-class citizen, and this has been the trend for the last 5 or 10 years, but it becomes more important right now. Because when it is a mindset, the conversation starts early. And that is what I've been trying to put down in this article and in this interview, that intent and quality needs to be taken seriously from the get-go.
And this is the question we have all been asking ourselves. For someone in QA wondering how to stay relevant in this AI-heavy world, what's the one thing they should focus on?
Asking questions.
Yeah.
Previously, before the trend of AI, it was you need to become more technical, you need to learn how to program, you need to be a test automation engineer. And those gaps has been limited now down to 0. I mean, anyone can be a test automation engineer right now, but not everyone can work in QA. That's my perspective, at least. We need to make sure that we are better to asking questions earlier and louder, and to be the guiding light in all of this, to make sure that we deliver what the customer or the business really needs, not just that we deliver perfect code or stuff like that. We need to make sure that requirements and features are being taken care of in a serious way.
Johan, thank you for sharing your insights and spending some quality time with us. See you in the next edition.